Come on.
It shows that we're live.
Does it? Doesn't on mine. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So here we are with the first of these Tales of Wonder and Dread Spooky Houses chat to talk about the book Spooky Houses, which hopefully you guys can see that. And we're here with Elizabeth Lynn Blackson. And she's got a story in here called Abatement. And first, say hi to Elizabeth, everyone. And
Hi, everyone.
so let's talk about your story. First off, I really love this story.
Thank you.
I just think it's a really cool story. So, without giving too much detail, what could you tell the listeners or viewers about it?
It came from a time when my husband and I were looking for our first house, and you have to crawl through all the old places and up into really weird crawl spaces and stuff. And in one particular house, there were just sheets of peeling lead paint. And that was sort of where my brain went. Was I was looking at this like toxic environment that was going to require abatement if we purchased the house, and I was just thinking there's something really creepy about this, and that stuck in my head for, I don't know, it's been in there for 10-15 years, and finally sort of came out as this short story.
Cool. I noticed one of the things that I think probably just about everybody can relate to in that story is the idea of when somebody passes away, it seems like there are vultures in the family waiting to cash in. There are usually a lot of people who just really care about the person and want the memories and stuff, and somebody else is looking for the cash every time.
Right.
I think it's a universal thing in families, unfortunately.
Right.
And I thought that was sort of a really universal thread in there. I think everybody should relate to that.
You have the two opposing sides. I can't find myself. There we go. We have the two opposing sides in the story where a couple of the characters are seeing it as a sort of Norman Rockwell painting of the idyllic past and how they have these wonderful memories of childhood that transcend the material cost of things. And then you have another person who's just like, there are assets that need to be turned into cash and, make profit instead of that connection to the past and the family, that sort of thing.
Yeah, like Lisa, I think that everybody probably can relate to that in one way or another because they've all had something at least sort of along those lines. Unfortunately, just sort of the state of human affairs, I guess.
Yeah.
What other writing have you got going on?
Currently, I've got a manuscript in edit with a company called J. Ellington Ashton, and it's going to be the first of a trilogy of modern fantasy horror novels. Takes place in St. Louis, the area where I live, so that's cool. I've got that going. I think I have a story in another upcoming spooky book, don't I?
Yeah, spooky stories. You got The Revenant.
Yes, that'll be on the next.
Right, it will be out on September 4th, right? Which that's another great story. I really liked that one a lot too.
Thank you.
So, everybody should check out Elizabeth's stuff because there's some really good stuff. You do a great job of storytelling.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
And also, I wanted to point out, I hope everybody can see this. Maybe if I can figure out how to do it out, maybe not.
So you almost got it. You almost have it. There it is. The wasp.
The little wasp picture that she did. Now you do a lot of artwork too.
I actually, when I was in about the 6th grade, I decided I knew for certain I was either going to be an animator with Disney or draw comic books, and life goes in different directions. But I've done a lot of graphic artwork, and I actually went briefly to Art Institute of Pittsburgh to be a graphic artist. So yeah, I've done a lot of art.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, you said you just threw that together, and that's just a really good little drawing. I mean, I really like it. So
one of the
story.
Yeah, one of the things I always seemed to be good at was quick pen sketches, just sort of to catch, not perfect detail, but the mood or the sort of flavor of it. And the dead wasp in the windowsill from the story is what I illustrated there.
Right, and I think it worked really well in the book. I mean, I like putting these little illustrations in there, and so that and that's the only one where we've got one done by the writer, which is pretty cool. So, uh,
I'm thrilled to have both writing and at least a sketch, that I did in the book. I think is fantastic. And we had talked just before we started this chat. I was going to ask you, of all the things that you've read and all those stories and movies and all that stuff, what was the thing that really grabbed you and hooked you into the horror genre? What was the moment where you went, "Oh, this is a a place I can tell stories that are meaningful," I guess.
I think for me, probably as far back as I can remember, I was a big Dark Shadows fan, and I
Ah,
loved
yeah.
the Collins. And I mean, I was a little kid. I'd run home from school to watch it, and I think that sort of hooked me. And
Hmm.
then I just fell in love with all the Universal monsters.
Right.
Um, and then when Kolchak the Night Stalker came out, I mean, for me, honestly, literature is sort of another way to experience movies and TV for me almost. The movies and TV come first. If I had the skill set and the budget, I would probably be making movies instead of writing fiction, but I
Right.
don't have either one of those. So
What?
when I write, I sort of I see it in my head as like a movie. So it's
Right.
like a lot of literature, but certainly the movies and TV came first, and it was sort of a substitute for it. So how
Okay.
about with you?
The first, a lot like you, when I was a kid, there was a broadcast out of Cleveland on Saturdays where they would do a double feature of like the Universal monsters or some Godzilla movie or something, and that's sort of what really interested me in it to begin with. But then I think it was the sixth or seventh grade, we were required to read Hop Frog by Edgar Allan Poe,
Right.
and that story just got stuck. I mean, to this day, it's one of those things that's like, this is a beautiful, scary, revenge tale, and I loved it. Um, and then as far as, yeah, like you with the movies, it was, I think, when I write a book and the books that I have written that are coming out, they are much more, I kind of see them in my head like a movie, soundtrack and everything. And yeah, if
Hmm.
I had, $10 million, I would try to make a low budget version of it or something. But uh, yeah, and then it's
Yeah.
like, you lose control of these aspects because you bring on someone to do something else and they see it differently. So you don't get the full control that you get when you write. So,
Well, it's kind of interesting because at one point I had a friend of mine. He's still a friend of mine, but he was an independent filmmaker, and that's what's different. He doesn't do that anymore. He now writes Dungeons and Dragons modules and
oh,
things.
yeah.
Uh, but he at one point was going to do a indie film of one of my short stories, and he was at the point where he was writing the script, and I found it interesting to see the characters I came up with in a different light and the story sort of told in a different way. I thought that was kind of interesting. I know
My,
a lot of writers don't like it. I thought it brought them to life more to me for me to see somebody else interpret them.
yeah, yeah, and it's weird when you let someone else read or reinterpret what you've done and see the words that are in your head, and then they take it and what do they see as opposed to what you intend. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Here's a question for you. The main character in the short story that I wrote, Abatement, is a first person. It's an I character. Were they a
Right.
boy or a girl in your head?
I think I thought it was a girl just because I knew you wrote it.
It's the story is written completely gender neutral. There should
Right.
be no sense of whether it's a boy or a girl. And that's one of the few tricks, I guess, if there's anything that I did in that story, was I tried to write a story where there was no, it could be any person who thought of themselves as the I character. So,
Right. And I thought of it as you because I know you. And so I just thought of it as you. So that's why it was the female character to me. But I could see, anybody could see it that way as themselves. Now, your
yeah,
other story is definitely a female character because it says
yeah,
it's mother. So,
yep,
but I tend to, when I do characters, yeah, usually they have a gender, but I try to very much avoid gender stereotypes.
Yeah.
Because I think that, gender doesn't really mean anything. I mean, it means something to who you're with, I suppose, and it means something to yourself. But as far as what your role in life is, there's no difference. I mean, and so like in one of the stories, in fact, it's in this house, this one, Spooky Houses, Secret Santa. The main character is a woman, but I tried to avoid the basic stereotype. She's the one who basically figures everything out. She's the smartest one of the bunch.
Hmm.
And she's also, when she's talking about her interests and stuff, she's a big sports fan, which a lot of people think that's a man thing. And
Hmm.
so I intentionally tried to break some of those stereotypes. I mean, I'm not a woman, so I can't write really well from the point of view of a woman. So I try to stick with things that I understand anyway,
Yeah.
and to
The big trick to writing women is pretending like they're people.
right, exactly. It's like, hey, you just got my wife laughing in the other room when she heard that. That's good. But yeah, I mean, I don't get it. I see a lot of these terrible examples of men writing women characters, and it's like, really? Do you really think that anybody is going to read that and
Yeah.
think it's accurate? I don't get it.
Yeah.
So I try to, if I don't understand something, I try to avoid it because I don't want to
Mm.
look like an idiot.
Oh,
And if I
see,
can figure something out, I try to figure it out.
I'll do research to the point where I feel like I've got a handle on it, and then I'll just go
Right.
ahead and let myself look like an idiot. There's no avoiding that. Come on, we're authors. We
Well,
don't know
yeah. I mean,
everything.
no, of course not. I mean, and every time you write something, I don't know about you, but every time you write something with me, if I go back and look at it later, most of the time for a while, I'm going to look at it and go, "Oh dear God, why did I do it that way? That's
Yeah.
terrible. I had not put that out there that way." And then usually, if I let it sit for a few years and go back and look at it again, it's like, "Hey, this is actually pretty good." Um, but it takes that sort of distance from it to be able to do that.
Yeah,
But
I've written manuscripts where I've taken 3 years to write a novel where I will write it and then I have to let it sit because you can't see your own spelling errors. You can't see
right,
you're too stuck in what your brain is saying to see what the words you actually put down. You separate
right,
yourself from it, you come back and you go like, "Oh, this." You find pieces that are, I don't know if you have this happen. You have sentences where it's like, "That's better than I can write." It's like that's way more artistic and beautiful. That's an accident. That's not like my normal.
well,
And
yeah,
then you
it's
have,
funny. I used to write for All Music Guide,
hmm
and so as a music journalist too, a lot of times I'm doing research on artists and things, and and I'll stumble across an article on there, and I'm looking at it, and it's like, oh wait, I wrote this. Oh my God, how did I write that well?
yeah,
What
or
what
like,
did
what
the guys
idiot
write?
wrote that? Oh, that was me. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's kind of I don't know. I think we're always our own worst critics, but
yeah, yeah.
I suppose that's a good thing.
So
But is there any? Go ahead.
I,
I was
uh,
just going to ask you if there's anything else you wanted to talk about.
I was just going to say, I really appreciated the chance to be in part of the Spooky Houses collection, and I really look for I have longer pieces, but occasionally I'll drop out a horror story in the short story range, and trying to find them a home is not always easy. So I appreciate the chance that I've had to contribute to this, and I think it's been great fun. So
Yeah, absolutely. And based on the strength of your work I've seen so far, you're always going to be welcome in any of these books I do, because your
thank you.
stuff is really good. I like the way I like the way you can paint a picture and get into the characters and stuff. You do a really good job with it. So
Oh, thank you, sir.
you're always welcome. So so that's all I wanted to say. Except everybody can go and get the book Spooky Houses. Yep, I'm
Oh,
terrible
there
with
you
this
go.
thing. And you can get it at lulu.com/strange no, slash spotlight slash strange sound. I've stopped doing distribution on these because I got fed up with the fact that if you do distribution on a book, you have to jack the price way up, And
Yeah.
even then, Amazon takes so much that you're making maybe $1 or two on the book, and Amazon's making $8, $10 on it. And
Yeah.
I figure I'll just keep the prices low, not distribute to Amazon, not help Jeff Bezos launch his next space flight, and maybe I'll lose some sales, but I'd rather get a better price for the reader and have it be a better value. So
Great.
anyway, that's that. And this was a lot of fun. Let's plan on doing one for when the next book comes out too.
Oh,
I want to do a series of these then too.
definitely, definitely. I'm terribly nervous. This is the first time I've been interviewed as an author. So it's like so
Yeah,
far I've just go
I
ahead.
get I get very nervous doing these every time, and yet I've done so many of them. But I always get nervous. So
Well, I'm glad to know that I'm going to be panicked my whole career as an author. That's
hey, you may do better than me.
oh, I hope maybe I should do a shot of rum or something before the next interview. It's
Oh yeah,
it's
funny
it's late enough, right?
funny bit about that. I actually interview a lot of musicians and stuff. And when I was doing that, as long as I've got it sitting here, when I was doing this book, Poetry of the Air, which is all interviews with musicians, and I normally, because I interview these people, and I normally don't get uptight about it because I've just done so many of them. I don't
Hmm.
really get starstruck, except I interviewed Tommy James, and I was interviewing him on the phone, and I'd been a big fan of like Crimson and Clover since forever.
Yeah.
I had to have a beer before I did the interview because I had to relax a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, not
So
a bad
yeah,
idea, I guess.
it's not a terrible plan. All
I
right,
will
well,
consider it for the next one.
yeah, I'll let you get back to your day, and thank
Great.
you very much for being on here.
Thank you so much for
And
having me.
I'm sure we'll be talking on Facebook.
Yes. I will
All
talk
right,
to you later, sir.
bye bye.
Bye.
Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.